out of this chamber. Nothing will come.
Say we get try to find anywhere. I say we get try to find anywhere today. I say we get up. I say we get up. I see the balance. Everybody, we know you. We want to break the body. See. I said we will leave. This will make the must leave. We will not condone this something. What do you think you are? Nothing of what I say. Honorable members, the request
Honorable members on the majority side, everybody should walk out. Let's walk out. Walk out. Walk out. Everybody, hold up. Let's go. Hold up. Let's go. Hold up. Let's go.
The results. Those in favor of the request, that's the prayer of the Minister of Finance for more time to do consultation with the leadership, 0. That's nil. Those against the request of the Minister for Finance for more time for consultation with the leadership, 137. So the noes have it, and the request is accordingly lost. Now I proceed to put the question on the motion. The question is, those in favor of the approval of motion number 11 on the order paper, who says, and I read, that this Honorable House approves the budget statement and economic policy of the government for the year ending 31st December 2022. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against the motion say no. Honorable members, Clearly, the noes have it. The motion is accordingly lost. Honourable members,
be that as it may, he went ahead, did what he did in absence because we were not in the chamber. And then went ahead to state that the motion on the budget, as moved by the Minister of Finance on Wednesday, the 17th of November, is lost. That whole procedure was unconstitutional. As far as we are concerned, it's null and void. There's no binding effect on anybody. Now, we say so because, and so the motion on the budget, as far as we are concerned, has not been pronounced on by Parliament. It's still standing in the name of the Minister for Finance. And in the fullness of time, a properly constituted House, not one presided over by the Right Honourable Speaker, will make the decision. Now, out of mischief, the Speaker quoted Article 102 of the Constitution that, and I quote, "A quorum of Parliament, apart from the person presiding, shall be 1/3 of all members of Parliament." He was right. And the quorum is for the transaction of normal business. Maybe statements are being made, no decision is being taken. So that one, that quoted number of 1/3 can listen to it. When it comes to decision making, it is not Article 102 that applies. It's Article 104 that comes into play. You recollect that yesterday the minority leader signaled that they are going to invoke Article 104. It was not for nothing. We thought the Speaker knows the fundamentals of the Constitution.
He's ignorant.
Now, what happened today involved a decision of the House. In that case, it is not Article 102. It is Article 104 plus 1. And I read, except as otherwise provided in this Constitution, matters in Parliament, including this one, shall be determined by the votes of the majority of members present and voting, with at least half of all members of Parliament present. The number that the Speaker quoted reflected the entirety of the membership of the minority caucus in Parliament. But assuming that is right, because you have cause to believe that at least 2 of them were not in the chamber. And yet, out of mischief, they said that 137 were in the chamber. He knows that at least 2 of them were not in the chamber. Why did he do that? In any event, even if we go with the 137 number, it's still less than 1/2 of the 275 member chamber. So, when he puts the question to 137, ab initio, the Speaker ought to have known that that number would not support the decision of the House. So that purported decision is a nullity. It doesn't have any effect on anybody. And to that extent, the motion moved by the Minister of Finance has not been lost. It still stands. Colleagues, for the avoidance of doubt, to give greater certainty to the constitutional provision, let me quote Article 1, Order 1091 of the Standing Orders. That provides no question, absolutely no question for decision in the House shall be proposed for determination unless there are present in the House not less than 1/2 of all the members of the House. And except otherwise provided in the Constitution, the question proposed shall be determined by the majority of votes of members present and voting. Assuming without admitting that he had 137 members in the chamber, there was still less than 1/2 of the 275. And by necessary implication, that exercise that he engaged in or supervised is a complete nullity. It's a complete nullity. And I believe that whoever presided should bow down his head in shame. In the fullness of time, the proper thing will be done.
What happened is a nullity. In the fullness of time, the proper thing will be done. Who determines nullity in the circumstances? And when will time be described as the fullness of time? And what will be the proper thing to be done? Now, let's get to, as it were, unpack the developments in Parliament for you. We are going to be speaking to the majority leader, who you just heard a while ago, Osei Che-Mensah Bonsu, MP for Suame, and also the MP for Ejumako, SCM Enyan, Kesel, Ato Forcing. But before I come to them, let's quickly try and bring you, some picture of what was happening when we all missed. Because at the time, we were glued to our TV sets following the science and maths quiz. Parker was in Parliament. He's our parliamentary correspondent, and he saw everything that unfolded. Thank you for joining us, Parker.
Yeah, something.
Great. So let's begin from this point. The House was due to sit at 10 a.m. yesterday, correct?
That's correct. The advertised time for the start of business yesterday was at 10 a.m. Okay. However, both the minority and the majority were not in the chamber as at 10 a.m., I must admit. The minority proceeded to the chamber around 11 o'clock. That was when they had concluded a conversation on their caucus meeting. The majority at the time were still locked up in their meeting, as we've been told, also taking a decision and mapping our strategy on how to eventually get the budget approved by Parliament. So around 12:10, there about midday news, the minority held a press conference, and this was led by Sam George, a member of Parliament for Ningo Prampa, raising concerns over the delay of the majority caucus in the chamber. And something at the time, the allegation was that because they didn't have the numbers, they were employing some delay tactics to ensure that they get all their members to the presence of Parliament and subsequently in the chamber so that they will have the numbers to vote in favor of the budget. Quickly, Frank Anadompre, who was in the meeting, the caucus meeting of the majority, descended to address the media and debunk the allegation. The point he made was that the Speaker, Alban Barbin, was having a meeting with the leadership of the House, i.e., the minority leader and the majority leader, of course, together with the leadership. And that is the reason members of the NPP caucus are not present in the chamber.
Okay.
But the question was asked as to, if the leadership is having a meeting, where are your members? The members were not having the meeting with the Speaker. So where are they?
So eventually, when did the Speaker come to his seat?
The Speaker came around 1:15 thereabouts. This is after the minority had protested and called on him to start activities for the day. So when the Speaker appeared and commenced the business for the day, Ahmed Ibrahim, the deputy minority whip, raised the concern because at the time there was no member of the NPP in the chamber when the speaker arrived in the chamber.
That's about 2 p.m.
No, that was around 1:15 thereabout. 1:30 thereabout.
Okay.
Yes. So Ahmed raised the concern that this clearly it's not the best. The NPP caucus have to be in the chamber so that they conclude the debates. The speaker then said that, well, let me suspend the house for 30 minutes. Let me get the NPP MPs in the chamber, then we can resume sitting. So that was done. The 30 minutes, but of course, we exceeded that.
But that was what the minority was unhappy about.
Yes, they were unhappy about it.
And their, you know, as it were, grudge was that you need a quorum to start proceedings. And there was a quorum. A quorum is 1/3. Translated into actual numbers, 92 members. Correct?
Sure, that's correct. 92 members.
Okay.
And so the point advanced, or the argument advanced by the speaker was that, well, we are concluding the debates. We need Haruna minority leader to speak. We need the majority leader, Seche Mensah, to also speak.
Okay.
So it will be only fair if we get the full complement of the House in the chamber so that we can begin proceedings.
Okay, so 30 minutes adjournment. Yes, 30 minutes adjournment. When did they come back?
So they came back after 2 hours, and that was around 3:15, 3:30 thereabout. So when they returned, that was when the majority leader indicated to the House that the finance minister, Keno Furata, is in the chamber, and to quote him, he has a prayer for the House, or he's praying for some attention so that the speaker can grant him the request to engage the leadership of the House, so the minority leadership and the majority leadership, on the budget. It became a bit of a back and forth with the majority leader and the speaker. The speaker's point was that we are concluding the debate on the budget. Let's finish. When we are done, we'll listen to the finance minister.
At this point, Parker, the House had been called to order, so the House was in session.
The House was in session at this point.
Okay.
We had the members of the majority in the chamber, members of the minority also in the chamber, together with their leadership. Okay. So they're all present in the chamber.
Right.
So when James Samonsu made the call, the speaker shut it down and gave the opportunity to Haruna Idris, the minority leader, to begin his debate or conclude the debate. Haruna did that, raised all the concerns that have been raised by the minority. Then James also came in to also advance the argument in favor of the budget, which of course talked about how this budget will solve all the problems in the country. So after that, the finance minister was given the opportunity to now make his request known to the House. And in clear terms, he stated that what he has observed, he has monitored the commentary since the budget presentation. Clearly, the House is divided, the majority on one side and the minority on the other side. He's asking the Speaker to grant him permission to further engage the leadership of the House. The Speaker then said that, well, you've asked me, let me put the question to the House, members of the House, as to whether indeed they will grant this request or not. Again, the majority leader raised objection, indicating that you are the Speaker of the House, and that you have every right to act independently. You are clothed with the powers of the authority to immediately grant or disapprove the request being made by the finance minister. So you don't need to ask us, as in members of the House, as to whether we need to accept it or not. In fact, that's where the whole chaos and the misunderstanding began. So the Speaker insisted that he's going to put the question by voice vote.
From your understanding, Ken Oforiatta's prayer meant that the House ought to have been adjourned and that the business was not likely to continue last night?
That's correct. In fact, that's the explanation given to us by minority, and that's why they shut it down.
Okay.
If you want to engage the leadership further, what it means is that you can't take an hour or two to engage the leadership. They were going to take the weekend to engage the leadership, go through the budget, peruse it thoroughly, and then the concerns raised by the minority would be looked at as to how they can tweak the portions they are raising, the concerns, and then come back on Tuesday to continue with the business.
Tell us how the finance minister had to be moved out of the house, or the speaker was compelled to call on the marshal, as in, if you like, the police of the parliament, to seek to march him out of the house. What happened?
Something. The voice vote was put. I mean, the question was put for a voice vote. Then all those in favor say aye, all those against say no. The speaker ruled that the noes have it, meaning the request from the finance minister has been shut down. Deputy Majority Leader Fayomaki then challenged the speaker's ruling and called for a division. Now, something, and our viewers know that Parliament has standing orders, and so if you call for any order in the standing order, it has to go with a particular procedure. So then the minority chief whip, Munta Kamubrag, then said that...
Hold on a second. The speaker then called for a division.
A division? No, it was Afeyomakin who called for a division.
Which the speaker granted.
The speaker's earlier ruling.
And the speaker granted that.
And the speaker granted that.
Right. Calling for a division means that the voice vote is not clear, correct? And therefore,
that is correct.
We need to be able to count the numbers. Is that it?
Not necessarily, but take another voice vote, but ensure that all non-MPs within the chamber or the lobby have been asked to leave the plenary, so that when we put the question, we can clearly hear the voice votes, the noes and the ayes. So that was where the minority chief whip, Munta Kamubarak, raised the concern that, well, if you've called for a division, then Ken Ofori-Atta is not an elected member of parliament. He is not supposed to be in the chamber, and so he should be escorted out. So the speaker granted that and asked the marshal to ensure that Ken Ofori-Atta and any other member who is not an MP gets out of the plenary. So the majority started protesting. Then Davis Opoku-Ansah, being the member of parliament for Mpasi constituency, spotted the general secretary of the NDC, Johnson Asodi Nketia, in the public gallery. Then he started agitating that if you want Ken Ofori-Atta to leave the chamber, subsequently you have to order the removal of Johnson Asodi Nketia from the public gallery. And something, that was the video you showed when Davis Opoku-Ansah, together with Farouk Alu Mahama, Michael Ochebefi, and others were agitating and pointing to Johnson Asodi Nketia, who was seated at the public gallery, to get out of the public gallery. If he refuses to do so, they are not going to proceed with activities of the House. And so this actually generated a whole chaos, controversy. The NPP MPs began banging the tables. They started shouting and screaming, others accusing the speaker of bias. And so eventually, in fact, this went on for almost about 15 minutes. All of a sudden, all we could see was the majority leader, the deputy majority leader, packed their bags and their documents, exiting the chamber. So when we saw them exiting, all the other MPs started following. And then Davis Opoku-Ansah started asking the other NPP MPs to also get out. So you could see in the video. So
the majority walked out, leaving the minority alone.
Leaving the minority alone. In fact, throughout the whole process, Munta Kamubarak was asking
after that, after they walked out, then the speaker put two questions, which we have followed. The first question was about what?
So before the question, the speaker suspended the House for 5 minutes. That also took about 20 minutes. And the suspension was to get the NPP MPs and its leadership back into the chamber.
Yeah.
But that didn't work out. So when they returned, the speaker, first of all, before Parliament begins proceeding, you would have to check if they form a quorum. So the speaker, first of all, decided to check if indeed the numbers in the House could form a quorum. So when they did the head count, they realized that there were 137 NDC MPs in the chamber. Well, I must say that has been challenged by the majority leader. He claimed that at the time only...
All right, so that's fine. Let's move on. So 137 was counted official. Then the speaker proceeded, move quickly to the two questions he put. Then we...
To the two questions. So the first question was whether the House should grant the finance minister's request to engage the leadership further Obviously, the MPP side was empty, so there was no answer to that effect. When he asked the minority, of course, there was a big no. So he ruled in favor of the minority.
Right.
That, well, the finance minister's question has been shut down. Then he proceeded again to put the question about the motion, because that was actually the
approval of the
approval
of the budget.
Approval of the budget. That was a substantive issue for the day. So again, he put the question via voice. Since we had an empty MPP seat, of course, the minority had their day, and the speaker ruled in favor of the minority
and declared that the budget had been rejected.
The budget had been rejected by Parliament.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Kwesi Parker Wilson is Joy News' parliamentary correspondent. Let me now get to the MPs and speak to them. Honorable Oseche Mensah-Bonsu, thank you very much for making the time to join us this morning.
For having me, Samson.
Great. May I confirm if Atufosin is with us? Dr. Atufosin? All right. Thank you very much. Okay. So why do you say, with the emphasis that you say, that what happened is a nullity?
Well, Samson, you listen to your own correspondent, and sometimes from their own narrative, you see whether they also color their reportage with their own personal biases. I'm not going to that. I will speak to the facts of the matter. You recollect when he began, you yourself related to some media interaction by Sam George. I think Sam George himself was completely misinformed or uninformed about what was happening. Yesterday, the leadership had sought a meeting way back with the speaker, and we're struggling to find space as to when exactly that meeting could come off. The speaker eventually determined that we could meet yesterday in the morning, have a breakfast meeting. At the same time, the speaker had granted leave for leadership and him to meet with Dr. J.Y. Amoako, former executive director of UN ECA, the Economic Commission for Africa. And he wanted to have some engagement with the speaker and leadership. That was concurrent to the meeting that we had programmed with the speaker. When the meeting began, we had indications from the Fix the Ghana group that we were submitting a petition to
Fix
Parliament.
the country.
Fix the country, I should say. So the speaker sent the honorable minority leader and myself to go and meet with the group and receive their petition. We went to the ceremonial gate to receive the petition, which petition eventually did not even come to us because there was confusion among themselves about who to present the petition to us. So we're waiting for them in the sun for about 45 minutes. They couldn't sort themselves out as to who to present the petition to us. Eventually, they themselves, some quarrel ensued, and the petition that they were to submit to us, somebody seized it and did tear it up into shreds. So no petition was presented to us.
They contest this claim, but it will be dealt with at a different time.
That's their own business.
All right.
But suffice it to say that no petition came to us. Haruna and I then decided to leave and for them to sort themselves out, and when they did, then they should come to us. So we had left the scene. About 45 minutes, fruitless endeavor from us. It was when we left that the reportage came to us that had happened after we had left. Now, be that as it may, these three things were going on at the same time. And we had programmed a meeting of the caucus at 9, when we thought that by about 9 o'clock our meeting with the speaker would have been over. But because of the concurrence of these three events, the leadership meeting with the speaker, leadership meeting with the speaker and leadership meeting with Dr. Amoako, and third, the meeting with the Fix the Country group, our own caucus had to be in abeyance. So when we finished with all these meetings, I requested that the Speaker, because of what has happened, our own caucus had not taken place, and we needed about 30 minutes to have some brief caucusing before coming to the plenary. This request was made in the presence of all my colleagues, in particular the Honorable Haruna Iddrisu, the minority leader, because he was closest to me when I was making the application to the Speaker, and the Speaker granted it. So we went into caucus, and at the time, I'd heard that the Finance Minister wanted to see me. So I said, let me finish the caucus, and then I'll go to see him. But just when we're about ending, he was ushered into the caucus meeting. And then he came with this request that he wanted to see the Speaker and talk to him to grant a space, to grant him space to have further engagement with the two caucuses. So I said he should allow me to finish with my own caucus meeting, which we did. And then we gave signal to the Speaker that the Finance Minister had come in with this request. The Speaker then said, and I thought we could meet the Speaker in his holding room. But the Speaker said, no, we should go to the administration block and have this meeting. So we went to the administration block to have the meeting, and he invited the leadership of the minority as well. So all of us, the leaders of the majority, the leaders of the minority, met the Speaker together with the Finance Minister, who put in this request. Then the suggestion came from Muntaka, the chief whip for the minority, that he knows the disposition of his group. So he thinks that it would be unwise for the Finance Minister to meet the entire caucus of the minority. So he proposed that he should meet leadership. And alongside, I gave an indication that just so that the leadership would not be accused of perhaps entering into any alliance with the Finance Minister, let it be the expanded leadership of the minority. So that lately there's been accusations, against the minority leadership. And sometimes when I was a minority leader, these things would be made against you, even without any basis. So I said that for transparency purposes, that meeting should involve the expanded leadership of the minority. And we'll do same with my side, so nobody accuses anybody of anything. So that was what happened. And the unfortunate thing, however, was that when the Speaker moved into the chamber, and Ahmed Ibrahim made observation that the majority side was empty, the Speaker then said, well, nobody has come with any request for any caucus. His understanding was that the caucuses were to hold in the morning. So he doesn't know, by inference, he doesn't know what was happening to the majority side. Even though we had told him we were going to have this caucus, and I had specifically mentioned that we require about 30 minutes to deal with whatever encomes the chamber. There's a reason why the Speaker, in suspending the House, mentioned that he was suspending for 30 minutes, because I had made that suggestion to him. But the tragedy of the circumstances was how he did not own up to my own prayer to him, but to go and say that, no request had been made to him. I was surprised by the Speaker's utterance. But let's leave that and come when we went eventually to begin proceeding.
Great.
When we entered, and the Finance Minister, because we had this discussion behind the curtain in the Speaker's own conference room. And so the onus fell on me to make the request on behalf of the Finance Minister for him to engage, and then we'll come to deal with the substance of the matter before us. The Speaker then surprisingly said, initially he said, no, we should listen to the minority leader, who would encapsulate the position of the minority. And then thereafter we will listen to the Finance Minister, and then I will come in later. And I thought that chronology was not good enough. Because if the minority leader, sticks to the position, which position could be influenced by the engagement that we have with the finance minister, then the better arrangement would be for us to allow space to the finance minister for him to have this engagement. And I heard your reporter saying that Ken Ofori-Atta was seeking to have the entire weekend to have the consultation. I don't know where he's getting this information from. It's totally untrue, and that reportage is inaccurate.
So that is why he said that's what he was told. So it could be a source.
Told by who? He is a reporter of your cherished media house. So he thrives on rumor mill.
No, that's not rumor. When you are reporting and you are dealing with a situation like unfolded yesterday, I was watching you guys throughout, and you are dealing with such a situation. Of course, you will be told things.
You will seek verification, even if you heard that from one side. You seek verification or authentication from the other side as well.
Yeah, so he doesn't say emphatically that is the official position. That's not what he said.
Be that as it may.
Right.
Let me just say that no such thing cropped up. Indeed, during our consultation, he wanted some time. And I thought that maybe he had a maximum 1 hour with the minority, maximum 1 hour with the majority. We could arrive at some position. Because when we met, some of the issues that were raised, and I had even raised them ahead of time with the finance minister. Some of them, the minister realized that we needed to do some amendment and patching up work in the presentation.
For example, what issues? For example,
the Accra Energy Agreement that the minorities are related to. I brought to the attention of the finance minister that how it had been captured in the budget was inaccurate, and that they could have looked at the request from the Minister of Energy when he came to Parliament. And it finds expression in the request and also in the Hansa. The proper thing ought to have been done. The second thing involved an issue that had been raised by the Honorable Gito Ablakwa in respect of the Lekusho Sea Defense War. And when the Minister for Housing, Works and Housing came to relate to it, he said he had put in a request. Apparently, it went under the radar, and the minister was prepared to accommodate that. The Speaker himself, on the day of the presentation of the budget, remember, we took a while after we went into conclave. The Speaker raised issues about allocation to Parliament.
That's right.
And we're going to deal with that. So there are, on these counts, some major concessions that the minister was going to come up with, and dialogue.
There's nothing about the e-levy.
The e-levy, when we went into post-budget deliberations on the budget. We had many consultants who came to talk to that. One of them, I would admit, called for the total scrapping of the e-levy and for government to look elsewhere. 4 others related to, one of them also said he thought that was a very ingenious thing to do, so he thought that we should do it. That we need to further engage before it's in possession. One person said starting off at 1.75 was on the high side, and that government could climb down, and he proposed that we could start with 1%. Another said the weight was burdensome, and that we should go to 1.50 and rather bring back the road tolls to top up. So all these discussions had gone. How was the minister going to respond in engaging the caucuses? And we thought if space had been granted, these things could have been sorted out.
As far as you know, the minister or the ministry or government has made concessions on these, particularly the e-levy, and you were just going to announce it to the members to get them, to buy in.
The e-levy, I wouldn't know what the minister was going to say about it. But these other ones, I know. because we had had these discussions, and the minister was going to engage the minority, engage the majority about possibilities.
Okay.
And then, of course, when we have done that, it may have to reflect on the ceilings or environment in the budget and so on. So perhaps he had done his homework and wanted to speak to us on these matters.
Please indulge me in this last one. Didn't this issue about the president's travel expense, didn't it come up because they had indicated that if you did not bring it to the front burner and it was not answered to, it would be an issue they would consider going into dealing with the budget?
Well, at that stage, we are dealing with the policies and principles of the budget. So what has that got to do with the policies and principles? In any event, I know somebody has also filed a question relating to the expenditure involved in the speaker's own travels, when he also used the presidential jet to Nigeria and so on. Why hasn't that question also featured prominently in this? I think that those are side issues that we can deal with, because at this stage, it is the principles and policies underpinning the budget that we're dealing with.
All right.
Much as I thought that the issue relating to the speaker's travel was at this stage irrelevant.
Okay.
I also thought that matter.
Respectfully, do me this small favor. Hold on. I return to you on the legality, and I hope we can deal with the legality briefly as to whether or not what happened was legal or illegal or constitutional or unconstitutional. Dr. Atufo, thank you. So, as the majority leader says, a whole lot of things, were going on at the same time, and there was a need for this engagement, and clearly there were signs of concession for the things that you were seeking. So why did things have to go the way they did?
Thank you very much, Something. Things that actually happened yesterday, my opinion, are things obviously should have happened earlier on before yesterday. In fact, those kind of engagements should have happened probably on the Thursday before this Friday. So we would have had a good day, a smooth sail through of the budget policy. Concessions should have been made on Thursday evening before Friday. Unfortunately, it did not happen. I agree with the minority leader when he said that of recent there had been times that the minority leadership has been accused. And obviously at the time that he was minority leader, used to accuse him. So there was some element of mistrust. And one particular thing did not help the matter. When the Honorable Muntaka had come back from the engagement with the Speaker and communicated to the minority side that apparently Finance Minister wants to meet the caucus to have an engagement, the leadership of the caucus and the leaders. The bench in particular said no. For simple reason that there has been a reportage, in fact from journalists, that the Finance Minister has said that he knows how to go about in a way to engage the minority to get them to change their position. So they felt that, look, this man is better. He's going to go about and get them to change their position. So we've made our position clear. If he has something to tell us, let him come, say it to all of us as a house, so that everybody in this country will hear about. So that our constituents will also not have a feeling that obviously probably or for some reason we've been compromised, and that is why we are taking that decision. So if he has any position, at least we are doing this for the people of Ghana. Let him say to the people of Ghana, let us all here accept it or fail to accept it. So that was the position. And so the matter was committed to the Honorable Muntaka. Yes, he has to also relay that to the leader. And the leader said, if that is what the members are saying, he is not ready to go. So for that reason, the Finance Minister should be given the opportunity to say what he has to say to all of us as a house. Yes, the matter was communicated. The Finance Minister, when he had his chance, made a prayer, and obviously what he said was that he still insists that the engagement must happen. But outside was, particularly coming from the bank bench, we're not ready at any point in time to engage the finance minister. That is why I was thinking, if they wanted to have some engagement, you do this engagement prior to the approval of the budget of the day. You don't do it when you are about to approve the budget. So that was a problem. Major concern. But for me, if you ask me, what matters most is how we move forward as a country. That is what matters.
Right, but before you get to that, you want this finance minister to meet you halfway or give you some concessions.
Yes.
He wants the opportunity, and you are shooting down the opportunity when you are being called upon to vote on the question of giving him the chance to further engage. It doesn't matter that he's been a bit late about it. Why do you shoot it down?
The opportunity, he presented his budget. Okay, so he can provide opportunity. He had opportunity to wrap up. Our positions has been made on the floor. In fact, the minority leader had said that he object to A, B, C, D. In fact, 3 items. He mentioned 3 categorical items that he disagreed and something must be done about it. The minister has opportunity to wrap up his debate, the motion. It was up to the minister to expunge those things from the records or make amendments to those things so that all of us as a country can witness what has been changed or what is going to continue or not going to continue in the budget. Creating the impression that he's going to discuss something with the minority alone, but I'm sure by now everybody else would have had the impression that the minority has been compromised. But obviously we've had our, issues with our base and almost everyone saying that the minority are not doing what they are supposed to do. Our question is simple. If you have something to do, please do it for all of us to see what you want to do. If you have concession, communicate to us.
So the three things you were demanding included that the e-levy should be scrapped completely.
You see, the minority made certain demands. The e-levy has 3 legs. One, our concern was that there was one on remittance. We believe that it is not the way to go. Taxing remittance will be inimical, obviously, to the economy of this country. It's not going to affect, help the country to go forward. We also mentioned the issue of the banking, bank transfers. We think that is going to be detrimental to the growth of the banking sector, and so we should not accept it. Then comes to the MOMO. We said, yes, it is a regressive tax. And if you are going to impose a regressive tax, you have to impose it in such a way that its impact on the ordinary Ghanaian will not be that severe, particularly the poor and the less privileged. So we made some proposal. I had a minority leader saying that the rate of 1.75%, even if you are going to start a regressive tax, is not the way to go. You have to reduce it. Yes, again, you've talked about 100 Ghana cedis and the fact that you are going to exempt 100 Ghana cedis every day for the next 30 days, making it 3,000 Ghana cedis. What is the guarantee that somebody is going to send 100 Ghana cedis every day? 3,000. So if you intend to do 3,000, why do
Can you make this one? Can you make this one? Can you make this one a little simple for myself and my viewers and listeners? What do you seek on the e-levy? Do you seek a complete scrapping or a certain reduction of it?
Okay, we are asking as a minority, as articulated by the minority leader, that the remittance component of the e-levy be abolished completely. That's one. Number 2, we are asking that the bank transfer component of the e-levy is abolished completely. Number 2. Number 3, we are saying that the e-levy component imposed on mobile money is something that we do not believe must continue. But even if you decide to continue for any reason of raising revenue, and the fact that the country may need revenue so severely, and so we should do something about it, its impact must be mitigated in such a way that the poor will not suffer. And so, therefore, the 1.75% starting is not something that we should accept. We should go back to the table and rethink about it. That is one. And then 2, on the same mobile money, yes, the government has said that they are going to exempt 100 Ghana cedis every day for the next 30 days. It is laudable, but our argument is simple. There is no evidence that ordinary person will send 100 Ghana cedis every day for the next 30 days. So if government intend to exempt 3,000 Ghana cedis, instead of you, making it 3,000 in the course, why don't you make it lump sum? So if I am the one sending mobile money out, and obviously I have account with mobile money, so if I up to 3,000, add me after the 3,000, and don't wait for me to send every month, every day 100 Ghana cedis, because probably I may not be in a position to send 100 Ghana cedis every day. These are suggestions that we put across. Government, we are not saying government should accept all of them, but we were expecting government, particularly our Minister of Finance, to have come to the table to say that we have listened to you. We have this in mind. We can do A, we can do B, but probably we cannot do C because of A, B, C, D. Then we can have a conversation.
The impression we get in the public is that you took uncompromising positions. So the things you put forward, you are not ready to compromise on them.
That may be your impression, but that is not what actually happened.
Okay.
We made our position clear, and then we had actually said and had communicated.
Okay. Now, thank you. Now, hold it there for me briefly, and then, gentlemen, with the greatest of respect, we will want to do this very quickly. So, Honorable Chairman Sabonsu, you say that what happened does not comply with Articles 104, Article 104, and then the Standing Orders 109. Therefore, it is invalid. By that understanding, nothing has happened. You are going to go back to the budget. Is that the case?
That is the case, Samson. But let me offer just a small comment on what my colleague has said. The request from the Minister of Finance to consult or engage was not made to only the minority caucus. He said he was going to have time to be given, he prayed for time to engage the minority and the majority. It was only to the minority.
All right.
And second, to my colleague saying that it was a bit late in the day, I disagree with it. Atu had been the Deputy Finance Minister under President Mills and President Mahama. You remember that when there was a period when the motion for the appropriation bill had been moved, an error was detected, and we raised it. And before its conclusion, we then had to, the Speaker had to suspend the consideration of the motion for the Minister to engage further. Dr. Akudose was a ranking member on finance. So he, together with me and some others, met on the minority side, the majority side. At the time, the Honorable Aviji, now Deputy Minority Leader, was the chair of the Finance Committee. He, together with Ato and Sestepe, we suspended consideration and met at the clerks at table office. Ato remembers this. And then we did serious consultation and engagement. And I think about 3 hours, we have finished everything before we came back to the House.
All right.
So what was wrong in the making of this request?
Okay.
Now, the matter begins with the Speaker subjecting the request of the Minister, the simple request that the Minister made. And we had this behind the curtain meeting with him. And the Speaker then comes to the chamber and he says, even this prayer that you are requesting, that you are making to me, that I should allow for this engagement, I will not pronounce on it. I'm submitting say for the consideration of the House. It's never happened in Parliament, in my life in Parliament. It has never happened.
Right.
A minister comes, he wants to make a statement, he presents it to the Speaker allows it, and he doesn't come to say that this minister has come.
Right, but by Article 104, you are saying that there needed to be at least 138 members before what happened could have been valid. Is that not so?
The Speaker clothed himself with Article 102, which provides, and he quoted it.
Yeah, but I need us to make progress because we have heard you on that already. I'm saying that what you're saying is that by Article 104.1, straightforward, there was a need for at least 138 members in the House, and that was not there, so it is invalid.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So what he did was not only an illegality, it was clearly unconstitutional. And because it's unconstitutional and illegality, it has no value. It has no value.
But Parliament was fully quorate at the time. So what will be the problem?
There is the quorum for Parliament, in respect of Article 102, is for the transaction of normal business. Like this prayer that the minister came with, he didn't require a decision. Maybe the speaker grants it. If we have the correct number and the speaker is presiding, he could grant that request. Or a statement is to be made by a member or a minister or whoever. And 137, no decision is required at that time. 137, the 92 people in the House could engage the person, could offer the platform for the discourse. Now, but when it comes to decision, on any matter, we should have the correct number. Is not the normal correct number of the 92, but it then the number then rises to at least 138.
Yes.
That is the plain language.
So my question to you is that when the Constitution says that the votes of the majority of members present and voting with at least half of the members of Parliament present, at the time, Parliament was almost full, despite your walking out. Does your walking out change the fact of the numbers that are registered as present in the House?
When the Speaker posed the question, when we walked out, the Speaker did not merely continue. He posed the question again. At that time, there was only 137. Now, assuming, without admitting, I guess you want to say that maybe for the first leg of the prayer that was rendered by the finance minister, at that time there were 130. There were more than 138 people in the chamber, and so when we left, at the time he made a request, we had more than the correct number, that is involving more than one half, to have taken a decision. But there were plenary issues that were raised, including the Speaker threatening to use force on the finance minister. Our orders provide for the lobbies to be cleared. The finance minister was not in the lobby; he was in the chamber with us. How does the Speaker order him out and threaten to use the marshal on him? It has never happened in this House. In Parliament.
And your insistence that Esiedun Ketia will also equally should be worked out. He was in the public gallery. Is that where the law says people should be cleared off?
The law says people should be cleared from the lobbies, not the arena of the chamber. That's the plenary.
Yes,
but if the Speaker extended it to the plenary, then equally should have. That is, if he extended his powers.
Yeah.
To the plenary, he should also have extended it to the public gallery.
Yes, before my final question to you, I'm asking this one that you know, for example, when you form a quorum of 92, after the quorum is formed and people walk out, after the quorum has been formed, it does not negate the fact that the quorum has been formed. I mean, that's a basic company law that if you need 100 people to form a quorum, once it is declared that we have 100 people and the meeting starts, the fact that some of the 100 have moved out when the meeting was ongoing does not mean that the quorum has been affected to negate what they need to do. Is that possible in this situation?
It's not possible.
Why not?
Something read the language of Article 104.
Right.
It says they must be present and voting. That correct number must be present in the chamber. They must be voting. So that extrapolation that you're making is out of range and is very tangential to the import of Article 104.
Okay, and I need you to have a certain understanding. I'm seeking to have you educate people. So as you see, I'm asking you things I know about. So if you are not careful and you make me the subject, it will not be helpful.
I believe that this one you don't know about it. With respect, the greatest respect to you. Order 109.
It's basic law.
Clear. Order 109 is clear.
Honorable,
this no question for decision.
Yeah, Honorable, this is basic law.
Be proposed for the examination unless they are present in the house, not less than one half.
This is basic law. This is basic law, and it has become part of the issues for the debate. So I need to raise it with you and to seek your interpretation of it. And I read the Constitution because it's also plain on its face. So again, I'll plead with you to look at the issues and take me out of it. Now, my final question to you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, my final question to you.
Stick to the language of the Constitution.
I get that. My final question to you is that in the present circumstance, you need to move forward. The budget, you need a budget. Yes. By Article 178, 179, the government cannot, actually simply operate without a budget. So how are you going to go about it, seeing that you also don't have the numbers to approve the budget?
Who says? Who says?
It's a question to you, sir.
We believe we have the numbers. And the Speaker has adjourned the House on Tuesday. And we'll go on Tuesday. We'll get to the bridge, we'll cross it. But we'll do what's legal and legitimate.
Supposing the Speaker doesn't show up on Tuesday.
The Speaker is scheduled to travel today. But he's given instructions that in his absence, the Deputy Speaker should preside. So the Deputy Speaker will preside.
Yes.
As I said, the proper thing will be done.
If the Deputy presides, what numbers will you have? If the minority decide to walk out, as you did, will you be able to approve the budget?
We'll cross the bridge when we get there.
Oh, can we cross it now? Because we know about this.
We will not anticipate what will be done on Tuesday. But so, whatever is done on Tuesday would conform to the Constitution and to our standing orders.
So you see the potential of what I'm raising. The potential is that you could go over this again, over and again, without making progress. And this country's economy will be what will be hurting.
We are drinking the soup even before we finish pounding the fufu.
Okay.
Something. We are drinking the soup even before we start pounding the fufu. Don't be pessimistic. I believe that we all want the good for this country, and I believe we've not ceased our consultations. We'll continue the consultations, and what is right and appropriate will be done in the fullness of time.
Would you say, finally, just very finally, would you say, I'm looking at the future, would you say that we have made a mistake as a country in the manner in which we have dealt with Article 93, where implicit in Article 93 was a minimum of 140 MPs. Then we improved the number, and that number was even. Then we improved the number to 200, still an even number. Then we improved it to 230, still an even number. And then the latest situation, we improved the number to 275, odd number. Is that what is hurting us?
Samson, you know my position on this. The last time the number was increased to 275, I disagreed because I don't know of any established democracy anywhere in the world where at the conclusion of any census or 10 years thereafter, the number of seats in parliament have to be increased. I don't know of any such. And that is why I have insisted that perhaps we could have left with the 140. It was increased to 200 just before the commencement of the Fourth Republican Parliament, the first Parliament of the Fourth Republic, and then thereafter got increased to 230, as you said, and to 275. I think we should bring this matter to a conclusion, and I think that in the review of the Constitution, we should put a specified number that we can't go beyond this number. Nothing that if we even had to do with the 200 or 140. This country could live with that. Because I don't agree. I share your sentiments that we are making, and indeed, go and check the Hansa. The last time I raised this matter, that people should not think that they are ingenious in what they were doing when everybody knew that what they were doing was really to just have a redrawing the constitution, the boundaries of the constitution to favor a political party.
Thank you.
It is wrong.
Thank you.
In fact, put a stop to that.
In fact, mathematically, by this number, half of Parliament is not 138. It's 138 and half, 37 and half.
But you don't have half a personality. That is why it is 138. In any case, if it is 137 and a half,
I get
the
that.
number in the house 137 and a half.
I'm saying mathematically, it's not 138.
I know.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairman Sabosu. We wish you well, but definitely this is very difficult for you, isn't it? That the majority is walking out. We are used to the minority walking out, not the majority walking out. And then the minority bringing the majority to a point where you are literally begging and can't have your way, and the minority simply have their say. Dr. Atuforsen, how are you going to cooperate going forward to ensure that, you know, it's the economy, this country is important, because what you are doing is shutting the economy down, and that's going to be disastrous.
To start with, let me say that the majority leader in his submission made a point that during the days when Honorable Seth Pepper was Minister of Finance, something similar happened. But let me say that it is nothing similar. Nothing of the sort happened. In fact, at that point, the issue he was making reference to relate to fiscal table that has been made up and the need for us to correct the fiscal table. It has nothing to do with policy and disagreement with policy to the extent that the minority had taken a position that they would disagree. So the issues we are talking about are never the same. And again, for the record, I did not serve as a deputy minister under President Mills. I served as a deputy minister under President Mahama. So I wasn't.
Yeah, can I have your closing comment on the question I asked?
Let me go to the issues. What is most critical for me is how we move forward as a country. It is important for us to understand that if the majority in government today, the majority members, the MPP members of Parliament, insist that the vote that we took is a minority, they know what to do. They can come with a substantive motion or probably come with a rescission motion. If they do that, the rules will apply. But the question is, will they be able to succeed? It's a question we all have to ask ourselves. But you see, let me say that is going to be a very expensive mistake on the part of the MPP if they decide to go through that route. Because the overall impact is going to hit them as a government and obviously the economy. And they will be the ones to carry the burden. What they need to do is for us to, by now, in fact, the engagement should even start today, Saturday, so that by Wednesday, we will be able to have a compromise position.
There's no sign that there's going to be engagement?
But as I sit here, I'm not aware that any engagement is going on.
Okay.
I'm not aware. And I'm speaking as a ranking member of the Finance Committee of Parliament. So you see, it is important for them to do that. They can decide to go to Supreme Court, but will that help the cause? How long is it going to take before we have a budget? Can they decide to go through Parliament in a form of coming with a motion of rescission? Or probably challenge the speaker.
As far as you are concerned, they can't come back and have the budget back on the table. That's what you're saying.
The finance minister moved a motion for adoption of the budget on the 17th of November, 2021. The budget was subsequently subjected to debate. The Honorable Kweku Kwatin seconded the motion. I started the debate from the minority side. The debate has run on to continuously till yesterday, 21st, that the debate was concluded. The speaker put the question for the motion of the 2022 budget as to whether it should be accepted or be rejected. We all know what happened. What happened was that the motion was rejected. And so as we speak, there's no budget before Parliament. The majority can come out with legal argument, say whatever they have to say, but the truth is that as we speak, there's no budget before us. There's no budget. What they need to do, as we speak now, who heads must prevail.
Okay.
Who heads must prevail. They have to really understand that there's a need for them to engage.
Right.
And I'm urging them as a government that, look, they should live above this politics. They should understand that this is a hung parliament.
All right.
They should understand that the only way to carry this country forward is to engage. Let's sit on the table and engage. Accept the views of the minority and tell us what you can do in the form of concession to move the country
Thank
forward.
you very much, Kesola Toforsing. Dr. Kesola Toforsing is ranking on finance. He's simply saying what happened was valid. He does seem to suggest that it's sort of a leadership failure on the part of the majority, and they must do better. Okay, thank you very much. I'm having some of the MPs sending me messages on some of the issues that transpired, including some of the members of the leadership. But we have a special edition to deal with for you today, talking about the energy sector, which is suffering, hemorrhaging, but we don't seem to be aware. And it does appear that by 2023, we are heading to a whopping 12.5 and some quote 12.6, 12.7 billion dollars of debt. And that debt can bring this economy on its knees. When we return, I'll read some of your messages on the Parliament issue, and then I will engage my guest for that particular issue. This is the Parliament that at times they needed only a quorum of 92, and they couldn't raise that number. Here we are today. We'll be right back.